What a weekend of KFC SuperCoach. Let's look at who was hot and who was cold in round 18. It doesn't get much hotter than 215 KFC SuperCoach points from Max GAWN, the highest score of the year, one of the biggest of all time from Big Max. Came out of the blue a bit really with Brodie Grundy getting dropped to the VFL, and Max had the ruck all to himself against Brisbane, and he absolutely obliterated the Lions with 29 disposals, 10 clearances, 7 tackles and a goal and 17 hitouts to advantage. So this is nearly 100 points just there from Big Maxi. So if you still had him in your team, it's been a bit of a rough ride this year with Grundy partnering him there. We weren't sure what was going to happen, but if you've still got him now, it's absolutely all been worth it. And we'll just see what he can do for the rest of the year, because I can't see Grundy getting back in anytime soon. If it wasn't for Max GAWN, we'd be talking a lot more about Tim English's massive game against the Swans on Thursday night. 173 KFC SuperCoach points. Magnificent way to start the weekend, especially if you had the captaincy or the vice-captaincy on him, which I know quite a lot of people did. This one was a little bit easier to see coming when the Swans dropped Tom Hickey in the ruck, and it was just Hayden McLean coming up against Tim English. So Tim ran around the ground, got 8 of the ball like he always does, 22 disposals, 10 clearances. He also got 60 hitouts and 21 to advantage, a career high. So again, that's like 5 points each. That's over 100 points just from hitouts to advantage. So massive game from Tim. He's clearly the number one ruckman in KFC SuperCoach if Max GAWN doesn't catch him in the next 5 or 6 weeks. There were some really big scores around this week. 151 points from Rory Laird, fantastic. Dan Houston went absolutely massive again. But I'm giving the last spot in the hot section this week to the Phantom. He's had a really rotten year. Every piece of bad luck, every suspension, every MRO piece of controversy, every late withdrawal seems to have hit his team. He's got a heap of injuries and hasn't really had any luck at all. But it all came together this week with a big score of 2,417 points. Destroyed me in our private league, and which I wasn't that happy about, but good to see him back on track and flying like we know he can. Let's just see how he comes home over the last 6 weeks, and hope I don't have to play him again in a KFC SuperCoach final. Who was cold this week in KFC SuperCoach? Well, the answer really is me, because my team stank. And number one on the list there was Rowan Marshall. When you look at the rucks that some other people had, a Max GAWN or a Tim English, and I got just 54 points from Romo, and he had only 14 at halftime against the Suns. Absolutely diabolical. This was coming up from 149 the week before, so did not see this coming. He finished with 19 disposals and a goal, but only 3 hitouts to advantage from his 26 in total. So nowhere near what we need from Rowan Marshall. We know he's much better than that. Hopefully we don't see anything like that again for the rest of the season. This will go down as one of my all-time worst trades. I brought in James Sicily this week. He'd averaged about 140 in his last 4 or 5 games before he got suspended. Came up against North Melbourne. I thought this is going to be the player who makes a difference, allows me to catch up to those players ahead of me for the rest of the season. But he was tagged by Eddie Ford. I could not believe that, against the Kangaroos. I thought he might score 150. He scored 58 points. He actually lost money, which I cannot believe. He had a break even of about 60, but he's still very expensive. So I don't think too many people are going to bring him in, especially after that performance. So he really will be a pod for the final 6 games. He's got Richmond and St Kilda on his next 2. So he's capable of putting up some really big numbers, and he needs to pay back me and the 6,000 other coaches who brought him in this week. And another disappointing score from a primo that I was really relying on to go big this week. Zach Merrett's been in absolutely fantastic form. I guess we can forgive him one bad game after 4 games in a row, over 130 points, but just the 69 against the Cats on Saturday night. They really didn't give him any space at all. Mark O'Connor, we know, can do a shutdown job, so that's something to be aware of over the next few weeks to see who Geelong is playing. But just 18 disposals for Zach at 56% efficiency. So well down on what we're used to seeing from him. Hopefully he can bounce back next week against the Bulldogs.